Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, hope you're doing well, secure. I'm going to I'm going to do something different today. Today's topic from Buddhism Reference is the three realms of existence, otherwise also referred to as the three spheres. This touches on a very core, key concept to understand as a Buddhist. Now, if you're just starting out here on this channel, or if you've not watched me for a long time, I'm going to urge you to go to the search in the middle of the page, not the top of the page, that search is all of YouTube. The search in the middle of the page, you know, where playlists and about, and at the last thing, you may have to scroll on the screen, but the last thing in that line is a little magnifying glass, and that's the search for within this channel. So you'll only be looking at the videos within this Sangha, this channel, and there are a great many of them, so please use that search. And search for origin of life. Just write that in the search, click enter, and see what comes up. Click for 3,000 realms. Oh, there'll be a bunch of results in that. Watch as many, if not all of those, as possible, and then come back to this video. And after this video, and the next, I think for the remainder of the book, if it's appropriate, I'm going to try to interrelate the term from the book to the greater concept that is so critical for understanding this Buddhism. This Buddhism being Shakyamuni's Buddhism. The point he was trying to illustrate for 50 or so years of his life, that point that's been tried to illustrate by Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, endless scholars, of course, Ji or Tendai, Dengyo, Miao, and of course, our modern mentor, Nichiren. And I'm going to do my best to take that further as far as I can so that you really, really get this. And the reason I'm inspired to do this is because I've had a question asked of me, and I've answered it in those previous videos I was talking about and in not so distant videos in the last year, because the question keeps coming up about the ceremony for the deceased. Nichiren wrote a go-show about it. It wasn't incredibly detailed, but he indicated some things. I added to that, of course. Ancestors. You hear this statement tossed around. When you chant, you affect your karmic freight train, right? Your karma. And it reverberates throughout 7 generations back, 7 generations forward, or 14 generations, just a big plop. You affect your ancestors, your future progeny ancestors. And it's just left at that. It sounds really powerful, but it's also, without explanation, really mystical and a contradiction, really, because we're constantly told you are you and that's it. But remember, you and your environment are not separate things. You and your environment are one. This, you can rhetorically go, yeah, I know that, but do you? Do you really know that? Because this is the point. As long as you see self as separate from, quote unquote, other, you're in samsara. Yeah, I said it. To be enlightened is to no longer have thoughts of separateness. To no longer see you and me, but see we, being, all of us. I am, here, I will break some minds today, okay? Can you say to yourself, I am, insert name here, Sylvain. I'll just do it, okay? I am Sylvain. I am Mars. I am Jupiter. I am the sun. I am the galaxy. I am Andromeda. I am a black hole. I am the pillars of reality. I am the local group, if you're into cosmology. I am the quiescent energy from which all things arise and to which all things dissipate. I am this moment by moment expression of a potential roiling through time, moment to moment to moment. And that potential that I am is expressing itself as me-ness in the cosmos, with the cosmos, as the cosmos. And you are simply, and this is the key, an expression of me too, as I am an expression of you, quote unquote, you. The drop of water in the Atlantic Ocean, upon seeing a drop of water from the Indian Ocean, doesn't say, oh, you're from that ocean, I'm from this ocean. Those two drops look at one another and go, ocean, water. They don't see a difference. Those labels, those are man-made. Those are samsara. All right. So let's begin with the three spheres of life, or the three realms of life. Remember, Buddhism is about the mind. You would do well to keep that in mind as you read these words, these languages, which, quite frankly, are based on the body. So obviously language ain't going to make it. But it's trying. It's trying to point at something. So let's read it. Three realms of existence, three spheres. Sun second. The realm of the five components or aggregates, the realm of living beings, and the realm of the environment. Those are the three spheres. Again, here we go with language and words, identifying three separate things, but they're really not separate. The first thing, the first realm of the three is the five skandhas. Well, how many numbers are we going to have here? But think about what the skandhas are, what Vasubandhu wrote about. They're the expression of the nidana. The nidana is this neat little how stuff arises and dissipates. This little arc of being. It talks about influence and desire born of influence, right? And that the whole machine of being is identification. Why is identification? I talk about it all the time. Why is it important? Because a rock does not identify itself as a rock. Only a sentient mind can do that. This is our singular, magnificent opportunity. Not the Olympics, not to run, skip, and jump, not to have sex and procreate and keep the species going. That's all just the physicality. That's samsara. But within that whole physicality, up emerges this sentience, this awareness of our process of expressing energy formed into form. We can watch it. We can see how it establishes trajectories. And we can judge, is that trajectory life affirming? Is it any good? Or is it more dukkha? I dukka'd my karma. Be a wonderful little cartoon. I created misery for myself. I don't really like that. It's not good for me or my environment, which, by the way, same thing. That's why if you're bummed out and you walk into a room, everybody senses you're bummed out because you're putting bummed out into the sphere of your friends or that room. It's really, really obvious, but we're so stuck on words and fashion and identity. We forget. This is just the way life works. Energy, formation, expressed. Boom, 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 moment. Buddhism repeats this ad nauseum. And yet we just, oh yeah, those words, I know those words. But we don't think about it. What other 5 components or aggregates? They're consciousnesses. Eye consciousness, right? Because the eye is just this orb of stuff, material, and is connected to some other material that passes around messages and electricity, energy. And somehow a mind emerges to analyze that, to go, look at that. Now, not only can I satisfy my desire to see, but I can analyze what I see and think about what seeing is. Consciousness. And now that I know I have this consciousness of seeing, I want to be excited by it. I want bright colors. I want sedate colors. I want to see what emotions I can create in myself by fondling this consciousness of the eye, of vision, of seeing. That is called pleasing or being caught up in the pleasing of that skandha, that consciousness of the eye, of the ear, of the tongue, of the sound of one's voice, of touch. Ooh, yeah, that's a fun one. But I mean, everything we do to satisfy those consciousnesses are completely anchored and mired in possessing, identifying, having, getting more, pushing away. You don't need to think about that for long to think Well, possessing something halts it because everything is moment to moment to moment. You can't really possess it. You can experience something because you experience moment to moment, moment to moment. But you can't experience that thing you've kept under 14 boxes of shit in the back of your closet in the garage, if you even remember it's there. What is that hoarding, that holding on to, that crave, that clinging? Oh, yeah, Buddhism talks about that. Why am I making such a great big point of just this is the first realm? The second realm is the realm of living beings because there are no other beings that emerge this ability. And those who can emerge this ability must, by the enlightenment of that ability alone, have compassion for the others. The realm of living beings is a huge aspect of Bodhisattva Buddhism. And the realm of the environment. It's listed separate here because samsarically, physically, we identify ourselves as separate from it, but that's a delusion. That's not the truth. I haven't even read the first paragraph. This concept originally appeared in the Treatise on the Great Perfection of Wisdom, and Tendai, 538 to 597 approximately, adopted it as a component of his doctrine of, can you guess? The 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. See how all this stuff comes together? The concept of 3,000 realms of existence, or the three realms of existence, views life from three different standpoints. So the one is life, but looking at it with the mind from three different standpoints, and explains the existence of individual lives in the real world. It tries to take apart the samsaric problem. The five components, the living being as their temporary combination, and that being's environment all manifest the same influence of the 10 worlds at any given point in time, moment to moment. Okay. I may have to make this is one term, but I'm going to dedicate a good long video to this because I want to tie this in to ancestry. And there's a new post on the website you'll see that says karma-ancestors or ancestry. Check that out. It's just a 4 very quick slide thing. Quick because there's not a lot of information. The information, though, is incredibly dense. And it may take a while for these things to, you might want to print it out just for reference and study when you do Gangyo, yeah? And I'll just say at this point, back to that statement of affecting ancestors, if you haven't picked up on it yet, your life, the way you experience your life, is not divorced from your environment. And your environment includes mom, dad, sister, brother, cousins, grandparents, great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. You've never met them, but they're part of your DNA. They're part of your karmic freight train because they're part of freight trains that have come from the intersection of many freight trains leading to your creation, your instantiation, your expression. And please also look in that search and on the website for the 3 entities of birth. Because it's not just mom, dad make You. You make you. How did you get there? Dad's karma, mom's karma, and your karma in whatever nascent, quote, condition it was in, is the triplet that makes you. So yeah, you have influences from your dad because you share in his, physically in his karma. And traits of your mother you share physically from her karma. But you share them via your karmic freight train. That's why we're never a carbon copy of one or the other or both. We are a third entity. But understand in that language of entity that it's not just your mother and father you're merging with, but the people they merged with, their mother and fathers, grandparents, and their mothers and fathers. It's an endless chain. From before the Big Bang, the very idea that a sentient being could be manifest, expressed from potential, has in it the Tathagata, which you've heard me talk a lot about recently. That's built in. It's part of the energy moving through time, momentum, right? That's where that hooks in. See, once you start to pick up on what's really being said here, all this terminology, all of this study in Buddhism, it starts to be very, very simple, very elegant. Like I said, the drop of water in the middle of the Atlantic does not question any other drop of water as being anything other than what itself is. And when they combine, they simply combine. They are ocean. They're not, I'm Frank Drop. You're Julie Drop, aren't you? No. Hi, ocean. Very hard for us, especially in this day and age with the individuation and the cult of personality and the individualism. Hard to think that way. You don't have to become nothing in order to think that way. You just need to let go of all the identifiers that make you stand apart. Oh, it sounds easy. Better chant. The realm of the 5 components, skandhas, so relatives. Yeah, that's François, one of my cousins over there. Yeah, Buddhism doesn't deny that there's an expression in the cosmos happening along with you that's related karmically to you. It simply says that your experience of François is not my experience of François. François' sister has an experience of François completely different from yours and mine. Your experience of François just now started. You never met her. But you know that I have a cousin named François. And that will mean something to you. Maybe it's very negligible. Maybe you forget about it in a week. Or maybe it pops up every now and again. I remember that François example. When you chant to develop your expression fully of your karmic existence, momentum, in that huge freight train of karma, there will be a little gem of François, with or without me as an intermediary. It won't matter, because you will have your own experience of François. What a strange name. And you will affect that interpretation, that experience of Fransu in you when you chant. Therefore, not only have you affected your ancestors, but mine as well. What? You're not changing Fransu. None of us are. Only person who can change Fransu is Fransu. Only person who can change you is you. Only person who can change me is me. We say that over and over again in Buddhism. But you are not just what you see in the mirror. That's the physical vehicle of you. You are everything. And everything is you. Do you see why? Because it is your sentience, your mind that is conceiving of, with all your epistemology and your prejudices and predilections and experience and blah, 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 influences 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. Oh, there it is again. Of your relatives, your ancestors, that is real. Not them as individual expressions of karma that they're expressing. Do you see? Now we can get into the weeds here, and we can see how this could be misused. Let me save that for a little later. The 5 components are form, perception, conception, volition, and consciousness. Let me say that again. We're talking about those original consciousnesses arising, right? And how do they arise? From form, number 1. Formation to form, the perception of form, the conception, how do you create, how do you relate, how do you identify what you're perceiving as form, volition, do you want to continue? Do you not want to continue? Are you happy or sad? And consciousness, I see it happening. Do you? Do you see it happening samsarically, or do you see it happening Buddha? There's the big fulcrum right there. Form includes everything that constitutes the body and its sense organs through which one perceives the outer world. Perception means the function of receiving or apprehending external information through one's sense organs, and conception indicates the function by which one grasps and forms some idea or concept about what has been perceived. Volition means the will to initiate action following the creation of conceptions about what has been perceived, and consciousness is the cognitive function of discernment that integrates the components of perception, conception, and volition. It distinguishes an object from all others, identifies it, separates it. Boy, we're good separators. That's Samsara. Recognizes its characteristics and exercises value judgments, such as distinguishing between right and wrong, blue, green. From another point of view, while consciousness is regarded as the mind itself, the components of perception, conception, and volition are regarded as mental functions, right? The function of seeing that the brain performs doesn't do the cataloging. It just does the identification. Our mind is the great database. that seventh consciousness, working along with the eighth consciousness, our constant repercussive additions, influences from our basic epistemology and the 3,000 realms of possibilities in every single thought moment of life. Very fluid, also can be very rigid. Form corresponds to the physical aspect of life, and that also is energy. Doesn't mean it has to be like a plywood sheet. It can be like the heat or the temperament. Those are forms. And the other four components to the spiritual aspect, if you want to use the word spiritual to mean the mind, not something outside the self. The principle of the five components explains how life expresses each of the 10 worlds differently, which leads to the 3,000 realms, doesn't it? Someone in the world of hell, for example, will perceive, form a conception of, and react to the same object in a completely different manner than someone in the world of bodhisattvas. That's just a very crude reference to the worlds. You know that we're never in one little world for any length of time other than a moment, which is always transected by more moments and other realms. It's a very fluid, fast-moving matrix. And then we have the realm of living beings. The individual living being, formed of a temporary union of the five components, who manifests or experiences any of the 10 worlds. The realm of living beings refers to an individual as an integrated whole, but since no living being exists in perfect isolation, the delusion, it is also taken to mean the collective body of individuals who interact with one another in the physical cosmos. This is what I was trying to explain earlier on. The drop of water in the Atlantic versus the Indian Ocean, they don't see that. They're just ocean. In the realm of the environment, the place or land where living beings dwell and carry out life activities, the state of the land is a reflection of the state of life of the people who live in it. Why is that? Well, if you feel angry, you can walk out into the most beautiful scene with birds chirping, the weather perfect, people smiling and waving at you, and you can have all of that feed in your anger. And you can influence that scene and those others waving at you to look away and start to feel upset that you're angry. Well, you didn't bonk them over the head with that. You're simply expressing something that permeates your environment. You are the same. A land manifests any of the 10 worlds according to which of the 10 worlds dominate in the lives of its inhabitants. The same land also manifests different worlds for different individuals. Therefore, Nichiren says, quote, there are not two lands, pure or impure in themselves. The difference lies solely in the positive or negative of our minds. See, I didn't invent this. Nichiren, this is a quote from Nichiren. In making this statement, Nichiren was countering the popular view that there are separately existing impure lands and pure lands, right? The Pure Land sect. The Amida Buddha people. Well, we'll go to the Amida Pure Land. No, read the Vimalakirti Sutra. It's all about this delusion. Shakyamuni was explaining it long before Nichiren. Nichiren's just calling it out, saying, duh! It's how you perceive that changes, not what you're perceiving. In addition, there are the three realms themselves are not to be viewed separately, but as aspects of an integrated whole, which simultaneously manifests any of the 10 worlds, 3,000 realms, taken again as an integral factor of the influence affecting the single moment of momentum that expresses in each successive moment of the engine of life, comprising 3,000 realms of potential instantiation. I should say expression. Please also see for more on the 3,000 realms and the engine of life. So that's it for this term. I don't want to make this too gosh darn long, but just to close it out, when we hear statements like, you'll affect your ancestors backwards and forwards, your attitude, your intent includes the reality that you have experienced of all of these ancestors, past and future. And it is your attitude and intent that changes. And when your attitude changes, so does your perception of those ancestors, past and future. That is everything. That is your reality. Their reality you never knew. Oh, I knew my uncle pretty good. In your mind, you knew the version of your uncle that you cling to, craving and clinging. And when you change your karmic perspective, you will reevaluate what you have always thought of as your uncle, and you will see him in a new light. Will he change? No. You're the one changing. Buddhism is about your mind, attitude, and intent. There's nothing mystical here. It's all happening in your mind. I hope that helps you start to claw out the delusions from your samsaric understanding of the world. But you know how people try to insult you and say, it's not always about you. Well, in Buddhism, it is. So get comfortable. It's all about you. I didn't know if I was going to do this video today, but obviously I had it in me. So all of these terms that we're reviewing relates back to this understanding. And I'm going to try my best to keep bringing it up as I finish out this book. We're on page 445, and I think there's, 570 pages or so. So, yeah, we're well into it, but at least I'm going to spend the rest of it looking for opportunities to make this point. I thought I had been, but I've never specifically called out ancestry and where things exist in the world. It's all our contrivance. That doesn't minimize it in any way. What it does show, though, is it's all about you. Remember last year, at least a year ago, maybe longer, I took to singing that, and I can't sing, referencing that song by the Stylistics, You Are Everything, and Everything Is You. I thought, if they only knew. Maybe they did. I kind of doubt it. It's a love song, but it's so perfect for Buddhists. It's not because everything is you, because you can take that branch and take that rock and take that neighbor and take that badger and just, everything's me. No. It's a different understanding, attitude and intent, a different understanding of how Everything is expressing itself in this moment, just as I am, just as the badger is, just as the tree is. We're all together in this same momentum happening, being. In that, there is no separation. There is no identification. We're ocean. You may not get that right away. And that's okay. But if you have it in mind and you return to it as you study, I guarantee you it won't take long before you start to experience your Gohonzon mind through this mandala in a very different way. I wish you the deepest insights from that. And for that, keep yourself healthy, please. Keep your practice strong. Have confidence in it. This will, if it hasn't already, even in little moments, when it really hits you, and it'll feel like it hits you, this practice is phenomenal. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support in all the various ways that you do. I appreciate your liking, subscribing, very important to YouTube anyway, and that gets us to more people. And of course, all the other modes of support. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, take care of your health. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.